Welcome pilots. In this short Jetworks video, I'm showing you how I create and finish off the F4 Phantom using homemade water slide decals. These are printed off on inkjets, standard printer at home. On the clear stuff, I use it for lettering and numbers. The darker the lettering and numbers are, the better, especially when you're putting it onto a coloured airframe. Once it's printed, it can be used on multiple different materials. The white inkjet paper, these are used predominantly for coloured pieces or artwork. As you can see here, the colour tends to hold better, and with the white backing it just helps the colour pop through. Here we've found online a selection of the F4 Phantom Sundowners decal scheme. On the left, it's these darker ones are done on the clear inkjet paper, and the ones on the right there with the colours are done with the white inkjet paper. It gives that white backing to hold the colour on the front. This helps the colours pop out when you put it onto darker paintwork. Once you've printed it, just be sure to let the ink dry on the paper once they come out your printer before we actually move to the next step, which is varnishing them. What I use is a matte finish. I just picked this up from the local hobbycraft shop. It's a picture varnish used for acrylic paints, rattle can. But yeah, it works very well, seals in the ink. Just get yourself a suitable spraying surface. Place your decal one by one. Don't try and spray them all at the same time. Just get one, give your can a good shake, and just with short bursts spray it back and forward. Just what you want is a light, even coating. You don't want to be blasting it with the varnish. Once you're happy that it's all covered, have a wee look at the shine that you'll see, because obviously the varnish is wet, just to make sure that all areas are covered. Move it to the side and carry on with the rest of them. Again, just taking your time, making sure the short bursts throughout and covering all the surface. You will find that with the coloured pieces, the artwork that you've printed on the white inkjet paper, once you've sprayed your varnish over it, it tends to find that you'll see the colour lift and pop, and give you that better finish. Once you've applied your varnish, just be sure to leave them and allow the varnish to set. Once you're happy with the colour scheme and finish of your airframe, I'll use 400 or 600 grit sandpaper. Give the whole jet a light rub to remove any brush strokes or accumulation of paint. This also helps reduce the amount of air bubbles that sometimes can be trapped underneath the decals when you apply them. Once you've sanded it, give it a light dusting down with a damp cloth, or even an airbrush if you have one available, just to give it a blast and remove any of the dust. As it's a Jetworks jet, would be unfair to apply decals without the customary Jetworks logo. Trim all your decals as close to your design as possible. The good thing about using water slide decals is you can get very creative and create your own ones. There is a wealth of them being found online if you're keen enough to search long enough for that plane that you're designing or building, but they're fantastic. You can obviously buy these from select companies, but I choose to make my own. Once they're ready, and your varnish is sealed and they're all cut out and prepped, ready to go, just allow them to sit in the water for 2 to 3 minutes. I give them a slight push, just gently, against the paper while it's still in the water, to see if the decal is ready to come free. I will apply it to the airframe so that any residue water sits on the wing plate here, and then just gently slide out the backing paper as close to the airframe as possible. As close to it as you can also reduces the amount of air bubbles that can be trapped under the decal when you're applying them. So with a small piece of tissue paper, I just wipe from the inside of the decal out just to remove any of the bubbles. Again, moving on to the next one, just sit it in the water for a couple of minutes. The smaller the pieces are, the quicker they will become free from the backing paper. Just offer it up to the wing plate, and again slide out the backing paper, and with a small piece of tissue paper just wipe off any excess water and remove as many of the air bubbles as you can. And with the larger parts, as you can see here, as I said earlier, with offering it up to the airframe, and any residue water from the back of the decal helps you slide the decal about on the airframe if you're not happy with the position. As you can see here, I'm taking it back off to reposition it again. The decal itself is very thin and flimsy, so just be careful and gentle when you're applying larger ones, or even the smallest ones that can be very fiddly. This part was challenging due to the millimetre or so thickness of the red line in between both of the darker decals. In hindsight, I think if I was to do this one again, I would probably leave the clear decal sheet a bit wider around the thin line so that I'm not challenged with trying to get it off all in the one move. And you can see, taking it back to the water, I was having problems. Take it back to the water, just reposition it on the backing paper, and then offer it back up to the fuselage. Gently slide it out. With the water that's on the wing or the fuselage, it gives you the opportunity again, just slide it about, get it into position, just tease it to where you want it to be, and then with a tissue paper again, just gently wipe away the excess water and remove any of the air bubbles that are there. The smoother the finish you get using the 400 or the 600 grit sandpaper on the painted surface tends to remove or reduce the amount of air bubbles I find that can be trapped in there. So as you can see, placed it on the airframe, slide it back, which leaves the water on the airframe itself. Gently slide out the backing paper, moved, and then just again slide it into the position, get it lined up with the opposite one just to get it to exactly where you want it to be. Small piece of tissue paper, wipe away the excess water and check for air bubbles again, wiping from the inside out. Offer it up, get it in line, and again just gently. They are quite easy to do once you get into the hang of how the decals actually work. Feel free to drop any questions or comments in the Jetworks community. Happy to help and support any queries or questions that you have with the process. I think you'll agree it looks fantastic, gives that an amazing finish. So thanks for taking time out to watch the video, and looking forward to seeing how your builds develop and change with the addition of homemade decals. Thank you.